As a soldier and messenger of the Lord of the Galaxies, I say greetings. Yesterday, a magnitude 6 earthquake hit western Iran, following the devastating quake of a couple of weeks ago. As we stated in our video entitled, Allah is Furious with the Muslim World, the sorrows for the Middle East is only beginning, unless all splinter groups or denominations bow and submit to the Holy Quran alone. This be truth indeed, mashallah. The magnitude 6.7 earthquake and tsunami that hit Turkey and Greece a few months ago caused a 40 miles long and 15 miles wide tear in the seafloor. The entire region slid 10 inches, a movement that would have normally taken 50 years to occur, happened in a mere 11 seconds. The Lord of the Galaxies requires the submission of the human species immediately. You will soon know our words to be complete truth. Mashallah, it is the will of Allah. Now let's begin to discover the murderous soldier Jesus, who is despised by Satan and his demons. Bible, Luke 19, verse 27. But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. Let me repeat that. Bring hither and slay them before me. What? Jesus demands that his enemies be killed in front of him? Yeah, this is the real mind of Jesus that is in perfect accord with the soldier prophets before him, Moses, David, Joshua, etc., and the real mind of God indeed. Bible, Luke 22, verses 35 through 38. And he said unto them, when I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye anything? And they said, nothing. Then said he unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. Repeat. Let him sell his garment and buy one. For I say unto you, that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors. For the things concerning me have an end. And they said, Lord, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said unto them, it is enough. What? Jesus commands that his disciples buy swords? They should even sell their own clothes to buy these swords? Now, do you think that these swords are for a giant shish kebab or for battle? Eh? Yeah. This is the militant, merciless Jesus that Christians don't like nor want. They prefer a whimpering little punk Jesus who loves everyone and forgives everything. A convenient little fantasy for adult infants indeed. Now, let us venture outside of the King James Bible and into what is referred to as the lost books of the Bible. Our Legion calls them the removed books, for they were never lost. The Gospel of Thomas, the infancy of Jesus, chapter 2, verses 2 through 17. But the boy, Jesus, seeing what he had done, became angry and said to him, "Thou fool, what harm did the lake do thee, that thou shouldest scatter the water? Behold, now thou shalt wither as a tree, and shalt not bring forth either leaves or branches or fruit." And immediately he became withered all over. Then Jesus went away home. But the parents of the boy who was withered, lamenting the misfortune of his youth, took and carried him to Joseph, accusing him, and said, "Why dost thou keep a son who is guilty of such actions?" Then Jesus, at the request of all who were present, did heal him, leaving only some small member to continue withered, that they might take warning. Another time, Jesus went forth into the street, and a boy running by rushed upon his shoulder, at which Jesus, being angry, said to him, "Thou shalt go no farther." And he instantly fell down dead. Let me repeat that. He instantly fell down dead, which when some persons saw, they said, "Where was this boy born, that everything which he says presently cometh to pass?" Then the parents of the dead boy, going to Joseph, complained, saying, "You are not fit to live with us in our city, having such a boy as that. Either teach him that he bless and not curse, or else depart hence with him, for he kills our children." Let me repeat that. For he kills our children. Then Joseph, calling the boy Jesus by himself, instructed him, saying, "Why doest thou such things to injure the people so, that they hate us and prosecute us?" But Jesus replied, "I know that what thou sayest is not of thyself, but for thy sake I will say nothing. But they who have said these things to thee shall suffer everlasting punishment." And immediately they who had accused him became blind, and all they who saw it were exceedingly afraid and confounded, and said concerning him, "Whatsoever he saith, whether good or bad, immediately cometh to pass." And they were amazed. Yeah. In the King James Bible, book of Matthew 21, verse 19, Jesus killed an innocent fig tree because he hungered, but the tree had no figs. He made it wither the same as he did the boy in the preceding verses. Jesus was a vindictive, ferocious, murderous soldier who despised his enemies, as the preceding resoundingly underscores. Now you see why Satan's demons in skin suits deleted a great deal from your current Bible. Mashallah. It is the will of Allah. Bible, Matthew 21, verses 11 through 13. And the multitude said, "This is Jesus, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee." And Jesus went into the temple of God and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers, and the seats of them that sold doves, and said unto them, "It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves." Now, aside from the multitude knowing that Jesus was merely a prophet rather than Jehovah or God himself, they were present to witness his display of rage. Consequently, alleged Christians should cease their rebellious infantile quest to transform that colossal soldier of ferociousness against the enemies of the Lord into a timid little punk who allowed folks to knock him in the head or put their feet up his behind. The Jesus of rage in the preceding verses was hardly teaching anyone to love thy enemies, bless those that curse you, turn the other cheek, and the rest of those idiotic Hallmark greeting card slogans that have been diabolically inserted into the Bible by Satan's demons. Let us further explore the true militant annihilator mentality of Jesus that is hated by most, not all, fantasy-loving Christians. Bible, Matthew 18, verses 6 and 7. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe unto the world because of offenses! For it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. Bible, Matthew 13, verses 40 through 43. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, And they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears, let him hear. Let him hear. Yeah, if you have ears, you had best hear the voice of the real Jesus, who was the living embodiment of the wrath of Almighty Jehovah, or God, the creator and destroyer of all in the cosmos. The preceding references, wailing, gnashing of teeth, furnace of fire, tears, the end of the world, millstone around the neck, drowning in the sea, and so on, are not in accord with the proper speech of one who had allegedly come to save the world whatsoever. Therefore, any contradictions to the preceding declarations from the real Jesus have been inserted by lie-loving demons in skin suits. Here are further declarations from Jesus that are parallel in nature to those of the prophets before him. Bible, Matthew 24, verses 21 and 22. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Bible, Matthew 18, verses 8 and 9. Wherefore, if thy hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off, and cast them from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet, to be cast into everlasting fire. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell fire. What? Great tribulation? Cut off your hand and your foot? Pluck out your eye? Cast into hell fire? Yeah, this line of speech is a manifestation of a mentality of wrath and punishment. Mashallah, it is the will of Allah. In light of these decrees from the real Jesus, how insanity can alleged Christians believe that Jesus forgives all sins and loves everyone, when this man is clearly an advocate of casting the wicked into hell? Most Christians are in perpetual state of delusions and confusion regarding the real Jesus, indeed. Let us return to the indignant ferocious soldier, Jesus, for the final time. Bible, John 19, verses 7 through 10. The Jews answered him, "We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God." When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was even more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and saith unto Jesus, "Whence art thou?" But Jesus gave him no answer. Then saith Pilate unto him, "Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and have power to release thee?" Bible, Luke 23, verses 8 through 10. And when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he was desirous to see him of a long season, because he had heard many things of him, and he hoped to have seen some miracle done by him. Then he questioned with him in many words. But he, Jesus, answered him nothing. And the chief priests and scribes stood and vehemently accused him. Now, what kind of man must Jesus have been to ignore and defy not only the king of the Jews, Herod himself, but also a ranking governor, Pontius Pilate, and the military guards of one of the most brutally savage regimes, the Roman Empire, in the history of human existence? Now, could he have been the timid little love thy enemies, cowardice wimp of Christian fantasy, or an indignant, fearless warrior for the Lord of the galaxies? We conclude the latter to be the complete truth, mashallah. Let's continue with the interrogation of this divine soldier of the Lord. Bible, Mark 15, verses 2 through 5. And Pilate asked him, "Art thou the king of the Jews?" And he answering said unto them, "Thou sayest it." And the chief priest accused him of many things, but he answered nothing. And Pilate asked him again, saying, "Answerest thou nothing? Behold, how many things they witness against thee." But Jesus yet answered, saying nothing, so that Pilate marveled. In verse 2 of Mark 15, Jesus elevates his blatant defiance and disdain by breaking his silence with the 16th century English equivalent of what many in this modern day say when thoroughly irritated with somebody: "Kiss my behind." The "thou sayest it" answer regarding his being the king of the Jews is absolutely hilarious. In current English, Jesus simply said to Pilate, "Look, dude, I never told a single human being that I was the king of the Jews. So why in hell are you asking me this stupid question?" Yeah, Jesus was ever cunning and indignant with his enemies. He raises his level of sarcasm and defiance even higher in the following. Bible, John 18, verses 19 through 23. The high priest then asked Jesus of his disciples and of his doctrine. Jesus answered him, "I spake openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whither the Jews always resort. And in secret have I said nothing. Why askest thou me? Ask them which heard me what I have said unto them. Behold, they know what I said." And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hands, saying, "Answerest thou the high priest so?" Jesus answered him, "If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me?" Again, in verse 21 of John 18, we find Jesus saying the 16th century equivalent of "kiss my behind." Yeah. In current English, Jesus said the following. "Look, dude, you are getting on my nerves, and I'm tired of talking to you. All of you human demons know my charges against you. So hurry up and crucify me, then go straight to hell. How about that?" Yeah. In verse 22, the officer was so enraged by the sarcasm of Jesus, he hit him. Jesus responds in his typical vicious and fearless soldier fashion with the "bear witness of the evil" challenge to the buffoon. Yeah, Jesus was ever cunning and indignant with his enemies indeed. Bible, Matthew 27, verses 20 through 26. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said unto them, "Whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you?" They said, "Barabbas." Pilate saith unto them, "What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ?" They all say unto him, "Let him be crucified." And the governor said, "Why? What evil hath he done?" But they cried out the more, saying, "Let him be crucified." When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and on our children. Then released he Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Again, the Jews, or simply the original white race, were the de facto murderers of Jesus, no matter how much they despised being referred to as such. His blood is on their hands, as verse 25 of Matthew 27 resoundingly and definitively declares. Mashallah. In closing, Jesus had possessed the mind of a killer since his birth. All soldiers must possess this mentality to be effective on the battlefield. Jesus had such a ferocious soldier demeanor that he put the fear of God in a ranking commander, Pontius Pilate, of the military of the infamous Roman Empire itself. The evidence for our stance is resounding and definitive indeed. Mashallah, it is the will of Allah.